too big a word. That's like mayonnaise. I'm sure that's the biggest word I know.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on into the Blitz NFL player props with none other than Derek Carty of EV Analytics here for the divisional round. Derek, I was incredibly depressed when I saw our promotional tweet for this, and wow, we really only have 3 games left in the NFL season after this weekend. It's been another great trip, but it sucks to be coming to an end again.
Yeah, it does. It was a good season. It's been a lot of fun. Baseball's around the corner, though, so I'm not too disappointed about that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we're getting there. For me, it's MLS season in the summer, and preseason starts like next week for that. Because if the joke about baseball is the World Series is over and pitchers and catchers report on Monday, MLS is almost exactly that. Their season runs like February to November. It's ridiculous. But we are here. We are back. We'll be with you all the way through the Super Bowl, making some money and looking at some great props here. Of course, everybody's already hopping in the chat. Brooke KGB pointing out that Hutchinson catch last week. That was a rough beat.
Yeah, it was. Botched snap, broken play, just kind of scrambled around and chucked it up, and his one catch. It happens.
Of course, it does. I'll tell you, I had a fantastic Rams game. The Monday night game went perfect for us, I think.
Oh, yeah.
We hit every prop except the Stafford over, and for me, that one voided because it was on a book that said, hey, change of venue, we're voiding all the props, you got to rebet them, and I just didn't rebet it. So it was a very, very good one. Sports videos calling me out here. Tough hair day, Tom. Love you. I know. I'm going to get a haircut next week. It's finally happening. It's gotten too long here. It's not going to go all the way away, but it's going to get back to manageable here. All right. Sick boy saying, killing me with these time date changes. That's totally on me from this week. I put it on the wrong day. It was always supposed to be at the normal time, at the normal day. It will be at the normal time and normal day the rest of the way here. My bad, sick boy. But hey, we are back for another good week here. Unfortunately, Derek, the board, not great for us today. We only have a couple props that we want to specifically talk about, which means, guys, we're going to need your help here. Be sure to throw all of your questions in the chat. But first, Derek, let's get all of our props out of the way. And there, boy, really is not that many of them. Let's get to Jalen Hurts. We're talking about Jalen Hurts completions to start us off here.
Yes, we are. All right, so Jalen Hurts completions. We are going under 17.5 minus 110 here. You can see the Blitz is sitting at about 14. Nothing against Jalen Hurts, obviously, but this is shaping up to be what's looking like a snow game, which, I mean, this is a team that is one of, if not the most run-heavy team in football to begin with. They came out last week, first week of the playoffs, and they were even more run heavy than they were during the regular season. And now there's snow, which tends to make teams even more run heavy. This one is more about volume than anything else. And then again, in the snow, efficiency will also come down a little bit. So that's kind of what we're looking at here with Hurts.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to get 2 snow games this week. The Bills game looks like it's going to be another classic snow game. I'm excited for both of these. Now, how much is the weather itself? Like, how much is the precipitation? How much are you worried more about things like wind? Talk to us a little bit about those factors.
So yeah, the Blitz will consider each one individually. The wind here doesn't look like anything 8 miles per hour that I'm seeing right now, which is basically league average. But precipitation does make a big difference. If the wind were heavy and there were no precipitation, that would make a big difference too. Temperature, it's going to be cold here, and it's going to be even colder in Buffalo. Temperature matters the least of these weather factors. It's a little bit like it's in the projection. But the impact of temperature is a lot less than it is from precipitation or wind in football.
Yeah. And I mean, if we get 2 amazing snow games out of this weekend, come on, how great would that be?
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. They're the people who say everybody should build a dome and we should just play football indoor. That's terrible. We get great football weather at this time of year. Those games are always the instant classic games.
I love the snow games. I like me some domes, but I would not want every stadium to be one. You need a mix. And so I like having these games coming up every once in a while.
Yeah. Like Buffalo should absolutely build a dome for their own, like, just benefit. But we as fans absolutely get the better end of the deal by not having the Buffalo Dome. Like, come on, we
For
get
sure.
up there. Now, we got one more here. Literally, this is all we got on the plate today for you guys. We got 2 props for you. Juju Smith-Schuster, we're going to be looking at him as well. I like this one too because let's face it, he's not a guy who is doing much.
Yeah, so we're looking at Juju's under here, under 6.5, minus 110. It's not massive value, but I mean, there's a chance he doesn't see a target in this game. There's a chance he only sees one and he doesn't catch it. There's a chance he catches one and it's under 6 yards. KC is a big favorite here. So even though they like to pass the ball at a certain point in the game, they might not have to. And it's the playoffs. And as we see in the playoffs, teams usually tend to play guys further down on their depth chart less than they do usually. And KC's offense is basically fully healthy at this point, aside from, I guess, Rashee Rice. But they have Kelsey, they have Marquise Brown, who's back now and should be fully good to go. Xavier Worthy has been eating up a bunch of targets. They have both of their running backs good to go. They have just a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. And Juju Smith-Schuster and Justin Watson are kind of like wide receiver 4/5. And again, might see a target or 2 between them this week. Maybe we'll see more than that, but I think on average, that's about what we're going to see. And so the under here for Juju looks pretty good to me.
Not to mention the fact that, there is blowout potential here. I'm curious, is there a receptions market that's open yet for him? Is that something that you might want to look at? Because, 5.5 yards, let's face it, we're pretty much making that bet.
Yeah, so I haven't seen one yet. It looks like they don't have receptions up. If they open a receptions market for him, we get under half a reception at plus 160 or something like that. I would imagine that's going to show some really good value.
Yeah, I would definitely take that over the yardage prop personally,
I
depending
would
on
too if that
obviously.
was an option. Yeah.
Yeah, depending obviously on what juice. So maybe wait on that one, guys. Don't go fire it off right now. See when that receptions market opens up. So we're 7 minutes into the show. And those were the 2 props that we had that we wanted to talk about today. I'm going to recap last week. I forgot to do that before we got started here. While I'm doing that, guys, throw your questions in the chat. Obviously, we only have a couple games on the slate. I see Bro KGB. I see Derek. I see everybody already throwing their stuff in. So absolutely love that. Thank you, guys. Keep them coming. We'll get to every question. Meanwhile, just recapping last week here, it was a great week. We went 5-3. We were up almost 2 units, bringing our full season total to 17 units on the season here. And that Xavier Hutchinson one, terrible beat. Would have been a 6-2 week for us. Curtis Samuel, he sailed over. We had no hope in that one.
He played way more than I expected him to play. That one was just a whiff. Yeah.
And then Rashad White once again bit us in the behind with that under 1.5 receptions prop. But we hit on a whole bunch of other ones. Emmanuel Wilson, I think he got 6 yards. He had 1 carry, maybe 2.
I think maybe 2 carries. Yeah, which was exactly kind of what we were hoping for him.
Yep. J.K. Dobbins, that one was, I don't think, ever in doubt. He did not get the carries at all.
They gave a bunch to Edwards like we thought he would, or they would. Russell Wilson did not get his kneel downs and therefore did not go over his number. We had a good week. Bates got 1 target, but that was it, and he did not catch it. So
yep. I actually remember watching that target and I was like, oh no. And then sure enough, he came out. Josh Allen, I don't think he hit 20 completions there.
No, we said he might not have to throw enough to get there. I think he only threw 26 passes or something like that. So he just didn't have to throw.
Yeah. So not only that, and then I guess it wasn't on one of our actual play. I guess it wasn't an official play that we had, but I know we talked about Matthew Stafford rushing yards. That one was easy.
Yeah, that was easy. I bet that one. That one's great.
I was actually.
I haven't seen that one this week, have I? Maybe. I'll have to look. I don't know if I've seen that out yet.
Yeah, I'll certainly be hitting it once it's out. But I was watching the games on Sunday with a buddy of mine down at Circa, and he had Rashad White over in receptions. And so he we were having a good time. We were having a good time with it. It wasn't personal. He was like, I got you on that one because he won it and I lost it. We were having that competition. And then the next day, he was on Stafford rushing over. So I was able to, I texted him. I was like, I got to tweak you for it. I got one back on you. But
the Rashad White thing last week too, I wanted his under. Every week they put out his under rushing yards first, and then they start to drop. And then they put out his under carries, and it shows like way bigger value than the yards did. Last week they didn't put out the carries. I'm watching the yards go down by like 10 throughout the week, and the value's dissipating. I'm like, all right, I'm waiting for the carries. They didn't put them out. That was frustrating that I didn't get any of his unders for rushing. But that's kind of the risk you have to take. Do you want to take the thing that's available now? It's like the Juju thing right now. Do you want to take what's available now, or do you want to wait and hope they put out the reception market?
Yeah, that's the big question there. All right. We have some good questions here in the chat. Again, keep throwing them in there. What's the motto? Loves the Stafford rushing. But bro, KGB has our first one here to get us started off with. Hurts over 38.5 yards rushing. Missed last week by a yard when he was down on the final play. That was brutal.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. In a snow game, in the playoffs, we could definitely see some more rushing out of Hurts. We can pop over to the EV Analytics prop sheet and see what we think. Definitely looks like there's some value on the over, especially if you can get in towards the bottom of this market, the 37.5, 38.5. Market is a bit spread, but yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of value there if you want to bet that.
By the way, Brooke KGB, shout out to him also pointing out Stafford under rushing yards is out. You can get it -110 at 365, -120 at MGM. I can confirm the MGM number because I just bet it.
Nice. Yeah, that one I always like.
And shout out to Derek M, who actually beat Brooke KGB in the chat on that one. So there you go, guys. Derek also wants to know about Kareem Hunt rush attempts. This is always such an interesting market that we have now that Isaiah Pacheco's back.
Yeah, so this one is one that I know projects well. I haven't bet it myself, but you can see it's showing good value. If you want to bet this one, you can. The Blitz this week is high, or I guess higher on, the rushing stuff for KC and lower on the passing stuff. I think there's even some questions in here that we can talk about now. I think Sports Videos had it where the Blitz is showing value on pretty much any Chiefs passing under. We hit the Juju one here earlier in the week on the cover show. I did Mahomes under. I did Kelsey under. If you look at the Blitz projections, Worthy unders are showing value. Marquise Brown unders are showing value. Basically, it says the Blitz is saying, okay, we're kind of expecting KC to have to run a little bit here because they're such big favorites. And really what I think we're seeing too, especially with the KC passing, is just kind of the Chiefs playoff tax. Like, this is the Chiefs. They're the favorite to win the World Series or the Super Bowl, or close to who the Lions are at this point. I don't know, but everyone knows the Chiefs are amazing. No one wants to bet their unders, especially on Mahomes, especially on the pass catchers. And so I think books have shaded the lines a little too far in that direction, especially given what the game script is shaping up to be here. Could be wrong. It could just be Mahomes going nuts because he's Mahomes. I haven't bet all of them myself. I am, fully realizing that these are very correlated. If you're going to bet this Chiefs stuff, if you're going to bet all the things that are showing edges on the Chiefs game, you have to realize there's a chance that you win all of them, but there's also a chance that you lose all of them.
Yeah.
So just your own personal risk tolerance, keep that in mind when deciding on these. This Hunt one is kind of the flip side of it. Plus, there's the added uncertainty of how are they going to distribute the carries between Hunt and Pacheco, and we really have no idea. We've seen some weeks where Hunt gets most of them. We've seen some weeks where Pacheco gets most of them. The projection here is kind of just a hedge. So because I already have Chiefs passing game unders, I did not take the Hunt rushing over. You can, but again, keep in mind it is correlated.
Yeah. David Levinson, what I'm hearing is Derek saying parlay all of them. Yes, do it. All
see what kind of odds they'll give you on that.
I had a case the other day where I had edges on 2 NBA totals, and I opened up my account because they were both at the same book, and I looked and I saw, I was like, oh, I don't have I got to fund the account if I want to bet both of these, and I didn't want to do that, so I just parlayed them together for what I had left. One of them was a easy game. It hit over. I had the under in the Clippers Nets game. The Nets scored 67 points. I couldn't believe it.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I cashed, but I was still like, Jesus Christ, guys, that's bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. We talked about Kareem Hunt rushing attempts. Steven Johnson wants to know, what are your thoughts on the Joe Mixon situation? Looks like he is going to play. I bet his over rushing and rushes based on the blitz earlier, but hedged today with uncertainty around his injury situation. Sounds like he's going to play. And I mean, I think this is the playoffs. I think they're going to load him up with all the Torvidal in the world, and he's going to go out there.
I bet the Mixon over earlier this week too. With the injury news, the market has fallen a few yards since then. I feel less confident in it than I did previously. If he's injured and he doesn't play and it gets voided, that's fine. If he's injured and he plays and he gets re-injured and comes out early, if he doesn't get his same workload, that's where we start to worry here. I think the line was low to start with because they're underdogs and they're playing the Chiefs, who have a great rush defense, according to the narrative or whatever. But rush defense is noisy. Mixon still gets, when he's healthy, he gets literally almost every single carry for the team. And so 60 yards or 59 yards or 57 yards is just not a lot for a guy who's probably going to get 20 carries. Like, that's 3 yards per carry. Even against a good defense, you should be able to get 3 yards per carry. So I liked this one quite a bit. I am a little more concerned now with the injury situation. They're saying it's minor. They're saying he's probably fine, but you just never really know.
Yeah. And like you said, how much are they going to be running the ball in this game? Now, that part being said, I did kind of like, but back the number's long gone, but I did kind of like when this game was at 9.5, because it's not like the Chiefs have covered many spreads in the last several seasons here.
No, they haven't.
This game could be, everybody's expecting that the Texans aren't going to win this or make it close. When's the last time the Chiefs have played a game that was a blowout? Like, they let you hang around, especially this year. I'm still like, I like the spread, but I think that this could be one of those plays where people are looking at it and going, oh, well, they're not going to run the ball that much. And then they end up running a lot more than you really expect in that one. Let's stick with this game here real quick, because What's the Motto says, what about those Samaje Perine overs, baby? You know we love those. Rob Holden says, happy Samaje Perine Day, Tom. Thank you, and a happy Perine Day to you as well. I don't even know if it's up yet. It is. There we go.
We have some yards for Perine. Set at 10.5 though, or 9. I mean, I guess it's different at every book, but that's higher than I would expect.
Yeah, usually it's at like 7.
It's like 7.5. Yeah.
I'm still betting the over.
I wouldn't bet the under here.
Mm.
He has gotten a little bit less work with Hunt and Pacheco both healthy, but he still has a role. Presumably, even though it's the playoffs, like, he still kind of has that niche in the offense. I still expect him to play and have that role. I don't think there's much risk of like him being a bench guy that doesn't, see as much field time. I'm not betting the under here.
Yeah. I mean, and again, granted, game splits do not give you the full context that you really need to be making a bet, but you look back, like this is the same thing every week. He is going to get one target. What's he going to do with it? He might get a couple more, like Christmas against Pittsburgh. He got 2 catches for 20 yards. To the 21st against Houston, he had 3 catches for 50 yards. And then the other games in his last 5, each of them 1 catch, but he rattled off 16, 23, and 13 yards on those catches. Like, he does get the work. You are betting it. They've caught up to it at this point. I'm still gonna bet it, but yeah, you're gambling that he does something with the 1 or 2 targets that he gets, but usually he does. And so that's why we like this bet. Anyway, moving on here. AZ Flight says Stafford INT is a must. How are you feeling about that one? I mean, it is going to be an interesting one this week with the snow.
I mean, with the snow, let's see what it projects as. I didn't see a lot of interception bets I liked this week, but so there is a little bit of value on the Stafford over interceptions. You can definitely think about betting that if you want. Yeah.
I mean, I like it too. I am with you on that one. Boglor says, against a depleted Detroit defense, try saying that 3 times fast, and an expected need to pass, is there any value on De'Ami Brown Olamide Zacchaeus completions. Yes, I was able to pronounce Olamide Zacchaeus perfectly, but couldn't do depleted Detroit defense.
Well, we can take a look. I think this sets up as a spot where McLaurin might be a little more involved than usual. It looks like not a ton of value on Zacchaeus. Not a ton of value on Diami, a little on the under, but not enough for me to bet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a good spot for Washington. They're indoors. They're going to be playing from behind.
This game might look more like a basketball game. Like neither team has a defense. They both love passing the football. Like this is going to be the most fun game of the week.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, but it looks like the market is kind of where it should be on these guys.
Yeah. I also think that the Commanders are like very live to win this game.
Yeah, I think more live than the public would give them credit for.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with you on that. Hopefully we'll look great and not like complete idiots when we run this back on Monday. Sports videos, we already talked about that. What's the motto saying that he loves the Stafford rush? Catching up here. How about changing 500, asking about Mahomes over rushing attempts?
I think the Blitz was actually showing value on the under. I haven't bet it, but I do think that's where the value was. Yeah, 4.5, minus 120 or so. The Blitz is projecting about 3.5. Not enough for me to go out of my way to bet this. I have enough of a stance I've taken on the KC game already. And Mahomes could easily get there with some kneel downs, which is in the projection. But if he winds up with 2 or 3 kneel downs instead of 1, you're in trouble. It's fine if you want to bet it. It's fine if you want to bet it. The projection certainly thinks you can.
Yeah. Let's see here. We've got some more Bogler point out. Pacheco hasn't really flipped back into that number 1 role. Yeah, they're definitely taking advantage of the fact that they have multiple running backs. It's been more of a committee. Colin asks, any thoughts on Jaden Daniels rushing numbers this week?
Well, we can take a look at that. Jaden Daniels looks like a little value on his under carries. Let's look at his yards. And depending on the line you get, maybe a little value on the over yards. Probably not enough for me to bet.
Yeah. I mean, that is such a tough market to bet. Like, it's very tough. That you want to talk about a noisy market. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Brooke KGB says, looks like the Blitz likes Goff over 0.5 rushing yards for plus money. We go from one mobile quarterback to another, according to RG3.
Wow. It's rare you see the Blitz like a Goff rushing over. I mean, not huge value, but there is a little bit there. Okay. I don't have a great explanation for you. That's what the projection says. So we'll go with it. Yeah, it must see something.
Yeah. Oh, and I take it back. I was incorrect. Did you see that RG3 tweet where he was like 7 of the 8 quarterbacks left in the playoffs are mobile quarterbacks? And everybody was like,
everybody but Goff, including Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. And everybody was just like, Stafford's mobile now.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Sports Videos has a great question. You're curious why Xavier Hutchinson is projecting so much better this week. Is it because Deontay Johnson got cut? I mean, I'll let you speak, but I feel like that's part of it. And the Texans were very much spreading the ball around.
Yeah, so part of it's because Deontay Johnson got cut. Part of it is because as of right now, I'm projecting Robert Woods out as well. Has not practiced all week. I mean, he's a veteran. Like, he could play without practicing theoretically. We don't know. It feels like a very coin flippy situation right now. So the way I have it projected now, Woods is out, which would make Hutchinson kind of the default wide receiver 3 here. And maybe even their 4th target overall. Yeah. But if Woods plays, then I would expect Woods to kind of be that and Hutchinson to go down a little bit. So really, we're just waiting on news there before I would do anything with betting that whole situation. Yeah.
Chad Martin says Ertz receptions looks like the best over for Washington. I mean, they do love hitting him.
We can take a look at that. Yep, a little bit of value over 3.5. You can get a plus 110 or so. Probably not quite up to my standards, but it is a 4-game week. If you're looking to get some action on each game, you could do worse than that bet for the the Lions game.
I definitely agree there. Now this one, oh man, scary but feels sharp. Puka Nacua under 7.5 receptions here.
I know it's going to show some value. I haven't had the stones to bet it yet, but yeah, there's some value here. Part of it is just like, realistically, how high can his true target share in this offense be?
Yeah, in a game like this,
it's been like over 40%, like especially since Cup kind of started falling out of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody ever sustains a 40% target share. Like even peak Devontae Adams, peak Michael Thomas, peak Cooper Cup. We're looking at like 35% targets, which is what I think I have Puka projected for this week. If he's going to keep getting 40 or 50, I mean, more power to him. I'm expecting regression. And we're in a snow game here. So that's why we're looking at the under. And he's a star. He's a star in the playoffs. So there's always a tax for that. I haven't bet the under here. You definitely can if you want to. I don't feel quite comfortable enough, but that is, I think, certainly the sharp side if you were going to take one or the other.
Worth also pointing out here, as Chad and Sick Boy do, I would probably wait until game time. This line is going to go up.
You'll get a better line then, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Chad also wants to know thoughts on Kyren rushing yards over. Let's talk about it.
Let's take a look.
I think this is one that's very reasonable. I mean, they're going to be running the ball a lot.
They're going to be running the ball as long as they can. I mean, they'll probably fall behind at some point and have to throw. But this is a snow game. We would expect them to run a little bit more than usual. They're outside of their dome. So, again, maybe a little bit more than usual. And especially with Blake Corum hurt, Kyren Williams last week got every single carry before the game turned into a blowout, like literally every single one. 69.5 yards is pretty low for a guy who can get that kind of volume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a lot of volume there. And again, the weather makes it that this could be a very rush-heavy affair. Colin McKenna says, Zay Flowers is officially out. That sucks for the Ravens, but how are Bateman unders looking?
Yeah, we can look. Last week, you kind of would have expected Bateman to step up a little bit more, see more targets and whatnot with Flowers out, and he really didn't. It's only 1 week. I mean, there's still plenty of uncertainty into how the targets are going to be distributed here for Baltimore. Looks like there's not enough value here for me to bet this, though.
Yeah, another potential weather incident game too.
Another potential weather game, yeah.
Yeah, worth watching on that. Sick Boy saying, not even
right now, just for anyone looking at the projections, I have higher chance of snow projected in the Eagles game than I do in the Buffalo game. So as forecasts kind of start to solidify as we get closer, that will update. If this Buffalo game looks snowier, then right now I think I just have it listed as basically like a chance of having snow. If it looks like looks more certain we're going to get snow, the passing projections will start to go down for this game.
Yeah. Sick Boy says, not even a prop question, but what the hell is going on with Deontay? How did he get run in that game and then get cut after? I mean, the dude is nuts. That's almost certain. Apparently everyone was partying in the locker room and he was like pitching a fit after the game. But then the Ravens go, oh, we'll take him back. Like, is this a compensatory pick situation? They knew Zay Flowers was going to be out and we're like, well, we're desperate. And he knows the playbook enough. We'll take him.
I think I read he's not even available to play. Like they couldn't even put him on the active roster this week or any time throughout the playoffs. I think it's just they want the pick.
That's incredible. I mean, hey, that's how good teams stay good, man.
Yeah.
Nitish says Cook over rush attempts and under receiving attempts. Let's talk about it. James Cook, not Dalvin, of course.
This is one where I would expect it to go up. The rushing stuff. Again, if the snow forecast solidifies a little bit. Oh, actually showing some pretty good value as it is already. So if you wanted to take a shot on this now and hope it goes up even further, you definitely can, especially if you feel more confident in the weather. With Ray Davis out, Cook is turning or should turn into more of a bell cow. We saw it last week. They'll mix Ty Johnson in a little bit, but his role will be more in the pass game than it is in the run game. We should see Cook, especially if it's a snow game where they're running, we should see a good amount of James Cook here. So this actually does look pretty good to me. And his role in the receiving game has gone way down. I'm hoping, wow, I mean, you have to pay for this one. It's showing value, so you could definitely bet this. I'm probably going to hope this flips to like 1.5 plus 150 or something like that, and then take it. But you can take the 2.5 if you want. His role in the passing game has decreased quite a bit over the last 6-7 weeks. Ty Johnson's has gone up. They've talked about how much they like Ty Johnson as a receiver. Cook could get a little bit more this week with Davis out. But I'm not expecting a lot from Cook in the pass game. So, take this if you want, or if it flips to the 1.5, I'll definitely be looking at that, what kind of odds they give us.
Yeah. And I mean, it's true. Ty Johnson is really the pass catching back in that offense. And the funny thing about Buffalo is that they're finally running the ball. Like, this is the first year in a while that we've seen them have a rush attack. The past several seasons, remember, they were just like, well, we can only pass because we don't have good running backs here. Colin, I got to call you out here, man. I got fake news because Derek is saying Flowers definitely out. I don't see where that's being reported. I have just looked 2 hours ago. Jim Harbaugh said, I think he'll have a chance. John Harbaugh said Jim Harbaugh would not know.
8 minutes ago, he was officially listed doubtful. So that's where we're at.
Okay. Yep. Good Morning Football saying it looks like no Zay Flowers. All right. So Harbaugh did say he thinks he has a chance. So we'll see. He was working out today. They released some videos about it. So we will see about that. But Changing 500 wants to know, will snow affect Josh Allen rushing totals?
Yeah, in the snow, teams tend to rush a little bit more. We can certainly see it with the quarterbacks. We see QBs scramble a little bit more in the snow. I'm pretty sure. I have to double check if that's true. It's in the projection. I know the Blitz likes Allen over rushing stuff this week. Actually likes his under yards. I think it liked the over attempts though. I know I bet that earlier. No, under attempts. Oh, right, under. Yeah. I was confused. Yeah. This number is really high. That's why. I actually talked about this one on the cover show earlier this week. Like, he's only gone over this, like, I think 4 or 5 times this year, and you're getting even or a little bit of plus money depending where you're betting on it. In the snow, I do worry a little bit more about this. And again, right now, I'm not projecting a lot of snow for this game. If it winds up being a lot of snow, his rushing projections would start going up.
Colin saying, I blame my ADHD. Hey, it looks like he's doubtful. I put you on blast too much there, Colin. All the love. Appreciate it. Real quick, Changing 500 was curious. Cook attempts 12.5 minus 130 or 13.5 minus 110.
There's an easy way to check that.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. So 12.5 minus 130 or 13.5. Well, there's minus 114 here. Close enough. It looks like the 12.5 is your better bet. Which, I mean, for 20 points, I would think so. I mean, for only, one carry. So the 12.5, I'd pay a little bit extra for.
Yeah. Let's see here. Any thoughts on AJ Brown under receptions? Also, any thoughts on his over pages read in his book on the sideline? I'm going to guess under pages read this week just due to the precipitation. You don't really want to book out, but my God, that was one of the most wide receiver things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. I don't know if you caught the explanation for it, though. It was like an inspirational book that he's like, I read it to like refocus myself between drives, which I'm okay with. I have no problem with that.
I don't understand how we didn't see it until now.
That's what I was wondering. Like, how have we never noticed that before?
Yeah.
But so yeah, it does look like there's a little bit of value on Brown's under receptions. Part of this is because of the snow game. Part of it is because of how run heavy I'm projecting Philly. We talked about it with Jalen Hurts earlier. And part of it is because Brown's targets have really dried up of late, especially in games with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, both also healthy. His target share is quite a bit lower than it has been in other games. That's where we're at on it. Plus a star player on a good team in the playoffs, you're usually going to be finding a little value on the under. I'm okay with this one if you want to bet it. I'm not in love with it, but I certainly think there's a little value.
Yeah. I mean, I just hope that we start getting more wide receivers. Like, I want to see someone reading War and Peace on the sideline. Come on, how funny can we get this? We're gonna have like a whole offensive line reading Harry Potter. I want to see book clubs starting on the bench during games here. That's my hope for next year. Nitish wants to know: do you know how Gibbs/Montgomery rushing will be distributed? I mean, it feels like it's always such a crapshoot with these two, and Boglor is right up there asking the same thing.
Yeah, I know. It seems like a lot of people are thinking Gibbs is going to wind up with more of the carries this week because Montgomery's coming off the injury and Gibbs has been playing really well, and everyone just wants Gibbs to get more carries because that's what people want.
That's also the logical thing to happen. But when has Dan Campbell been logical?
Right. It's Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell loves David Montgomery. Mm-hmm. He split the carries with them all year. It seems like Montgomery is fully healthy. Campbell said 10 days ago he expected Montgomery to be ready for this game. Yeah. He's had full practices all week. He's off the injury report. I would expect it's probably going to be closer to an even split than people want it to be. There's even the possibility that, in a game like this where Detroit is a pretty big favorite, during the regular season, Montgomery's tended to get a heavier split in those games than Gibbs did. So I do think there's uncertainty because of the injury, and Campbell did acknowledge this week there was a quote about the Gibbs having the hot hand after last week. But I think we're probably looking at something close to an even split or close to a normal split for them. At least that's how I have it projected.
Mm-hmm. All right. We've got a really good question in here that I have some thoughts on from Chad Martin. Does the Blitz account for increased quarterback rushing in the playoffs? I saw on X that QBs see a 2 to 5% increase in rushing in the playoffs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, are you familiar with the meme of an old study back in World War II where they were looking at fighter planes that came back from bombings, and they were studying, these are the places where they had the most bullet holes. This is where we need to reinforce the armor. However, it's a logical fallacy because it's survivorship bias. They're only seeing the planes that come back. I feel like this entire angle is just survivorship bias because we have more elite mobile quarterbacks today who are making the playoffs and therefore rushing more. I don't think that this is something you actually have to account for. It's just that the quarterbacks who make the playoffs are larger rushing quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'd love to see that tweet and the study that it's based on, because if it's just looking at, in the regular season, QBs average this, and in the playoffs, QBs average this, then yeah, that's probably survivorship bias. If they're smart enough to account for, this is what this guy did in the regular season compared to the playoffs, and you look at everybody like that and you do proper weighting and everything, then I would be much more willing to buy into something like that. I think it's certainly a narrative that could be true. It would kind of make sense, like you're saving your body a little bit during the regular season and you go out, go all out a little bit more in the playoffs. If you have that tweet, send it to me. I'd be really curious to see, because this has been on my list to look at for a little while. I haven't done a full study on it myself yet. So I'd be curious to see what others have done and if it's something potentially valid or not.
Yeah. Ian saying gonna need Andrew Luck to come out of retirement to head up that book club. Man, did you watch the other video going around this week of Luck, like back from Gruden's QB camp, and it's just Luck and Gruden talking about football? God, that Gruden loves football, and those two were brilliant football minds right there. Rob Holden, Derek, do you bet spreads on totals as well?
I don't bet
and totals.
Yes, I assume it means spreads and totals. Yeah. I don't bet a lot of them, but I do have projections for it. Like if you have a projection to the Blitz through EV Analytics, that works with the Unabated prop simulator. On EV Analytics, there is a game sheet where you can see the Blitz's projections for sides, totals, money lines, spreads, all that kind of stuff. And back tests have shown it's done pretty well. I know people who are using it to bet have done well with it. Sometimes it can show stuff that's more counterintuitive than you would think. But yeah, I think those markets have a little bit more edge than kind of the general consensus is.
Yeah, I would definitely. I would definitely agree with that too. And hey, any tools that you can use to gain an edge, like obviously we love the unabated tools, but the EV analytics tools are also awesome, and you can use them in tandem. You don't have to just use one or the other. I know a lot of the people who are getting the most out of all of these memberships, all of these tools, all of these platforms aren't just sticking to one thing. They are saying, okay, this is my base, or this is one part of my arsenal here. So highly recommend checking that out as well. All right.
And important to keep in mind for anyone who's, kind of only done props and hasn't really dove into game stuff yet, your edge on game stuff is a lot lower than it is on props.
Yes.
And your ROI is going to be a lot lower. Like if you can eke out, a 2 or 3% RPI ROI on game stuff, like you're happy with that. The difference is you can get much more volume down on game stuff than you can on props. So that's kind of where the appeal comes from. So kind of depends on your own bankroll kind of situation.
Exactly. That's the big thing there, is like you can't, there's not as big of an edge, but you can bet a lot more on them. All right, Derek, I think that's going to do it for us here. We're out of questions in the chat. Of course, a big recap for you this week. Jalen Hurts under 17.5 completions, -110 at BetMGM. And Juju Smith-Schuster under 6.5 receiving yards, also -110 at Bet365. And that's what we got for you here. Of course, thank you guys so much for throwing your questions in the chat as well. We will be back next week, same time, same place. I promise, Sick Boy. No matter what it says, that's just me being stupid and messing it up when I put up the show for the week. Noon Pacific, Friday afternoon. We will be here talking about the AFC and NFC championship games. Chad wants to know, when is the Cover 2 college football prop show going to be for the finals? That's going to be on Monday at its usual 11 a.m. Pacific time, just on Monday instead of today, because we have not released any props for that game just yet. But Monday, we will be here. Chris K and I will be breaking down the college football natty as we get ready for that. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for another fantastic week. Let's go out there. Let's go 2 for 2, and let's hit on everything that we talked about in the chat as well, because, guys, it's all about cashing those tickets. Let's do some more of that this week. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for being here, as always.